Good afternoon. Well, unusually that worked. Thanks. Good afternoon and welcome to our lunch program at the 30th Annual American Bankruptcy Institute's Winter Leadership Conference. I am Ted Gavin and I serve as ABI's president. On behalf of ABI, I thank the 610 registrants from more than 40 states for joining us here in Scottsdale today. But soon, we'll salute the impressive 2018 class of 40 under 40 honorees, and we'll hear some inspiring words from our special guest, Molly Bloom. I want to offer special thanks to our many financial sponsors whose logos you've seen on signs throughout this event. We rely on your support, and we're grateful to have it this weekend and all throughout 2018. Thanks also to the ABI Board of Directors and the Executive Committee who met here yesterday and who continue to give generously of their time throughout the year, including especially our immediate past president, Gene Wiedoff, the chair of our board, Jeff Pomerantz, and our president-elect, Alan Beckett. Yes, please. Halfway through my term as ABI's president, I want to quickly report on two initiatives that I announced in April in Washington. The first is our strategic plan to keep ABI thriving in a challenging environment. We thank the many members who have shared their insights to date. The next step of the process is a two-day leadership session where we'll distill what we've learned from the data collected and hone in on a go-forward plan for ABI. Watch the ABI Journal for more details. The second is our task force on Veterans and Service Members Affairs. This group of incredible volunteers is raising awareness of credit and debtor education issues significant to active duty members of the military, veterans, and their families. The feature article in last month's ABI Journal highlights a key legislative issue our community can help fix. The ABI Task Force is interfacing with veterans organizations, the Department of Defense, congressional committees, Native American organizations, and ABI's CARE program. Inasmuch as this is our leadership conference, I want to salute the many who've taken the lead on this worthy cause. Stay tuned for ways you can help, and I will tell you that the Veterans Task Force is having its very first in-person meeting today at 4:15 at this conference. At our dinner tonight, we'll recognize several members who've made significant contributions to ABI's publishing and development efforts this year, and we'll present the annual Mark Stingley Endowment Award for extraordinary service to the ABI Endowment. Donors are welcome to join us late night in the Moore 2 conference room, not the Princess Pool, but the Moore 2 conference room, for a dessert reception right after our dinner concludes. We are already thinking ahead to the annual meeting in Washington next April, which will feature the release of the final report of our Commission on Consumer Bankruptcy, and the lunch will have keynote remarks by famed journalist Bob Woodward. And next December, we'll return to one of our favorite venues, the Terranea Resort, on the ocean in Southern California for the Winter Leadership Conference. I hope you make plans to join us. Now, let's begin our show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2018 ceremony of ABI's 40 Under 40.
Now that person has a better voice than I do. Hi everybody, I'm Katie Coleman of Hughes, Hubbard & Reed in New York. I had the honor of serving as the chair of the steering committee for the second class of honorees for the 40 Under 40. Welcome to today's celebration. A little bit of history. ABI first announced this initiative not very long ago in April of 2017. The response was really extraordinary right off the bat, and last year's honorees at this event, many of whom are here today, set a very high bar for year 2. This year, the judges thoroughly evaluated more than 200 applications. I am told we spent 900 hours collectively reviewing and deliberating over the applications. First, I want to thank my colleagues who served with me on the evaluation committee. Chief Bankruptcy Judge Daniel P. Collins from Arizona, Mark Collins of Richards, Layton and Finger, Rachel Foley of Foley Law, Sunit Kapila of Kapila Mukamal, Doug Lutz of Frost Brown Todd, Jen McLemore of Christian and Barton, Jen Meyerowitz of Summit Investment Management, Kim Posen of Latham and Watkins, and last but not least, John Young of Marcus Williams and Young. Please give a round of applause for the judges. I'd also like to make sure that everybody understands that Robin Davis and Kareem Gurgis of ABI's staff were absolutely instrumental in designing and herding all the cats of the judges and designing the judging process, which was no mean technical feat as well. So thanks to them as well. So as you probably could tell from the list, my colleagues on the judging panel were all seasoned professionals from ABI's current leadership. 3 of us were judges last year as well, which provided some continuity. The judges represent all the regions and all the practice types that we have in ABI. We graded multiple rounds, and each candidate ended up being evaluated by 8 out of the 10 judges. The process was rigorous, it was confidential. ABI membership was not a criterion, and in fact, we did end up choosing several non-members, but don't worry, they're now all members. The judging was daunting with so many wonderful candidates, but we are absolutely thrilled with the results. The people presented today come from large and small firms. They come from national, regional, boutique, commercial, consumer, from every region of the country. They represent diverse practice areas: law, finance, consulting, academia, government, nonprofit, and more. 19 of the 40 are women. The group is also diverse by race and ethnicity. But most important, each of these 40 young men and women of achievement is distinguished by an extraordinary professional accomplishment and leadership in their respective communities. Some are as young as 31. More than 85% are partners or managing directors at their respective firms. They have inspiring and compelling personal stories that are worth sharing. Some are immigrants. Some are children of immigrants. Most worked their way through college or graduate school. Some have worked on the biggest cases on the national stage over the last 5 years, and yet others have saved individuals from foreclosure and eviction. Some have worked on Wall Street. Some have worked on Capitol Hill. One of them is a 2-time member of the national hockey team. They are all on the move and worth knowing. Right now, you're seeing on the screen, I hope, the lapel pin and personalized gift that each of the honorees is receiving today. We encourage you all to seek out the honorees over the course of the weekend. Personally congratulate them. You'll know them by their lapel pins, and they'll be wearing those pins because, as Sam mentioned yesterday, the pins entitle them to free alcohol. So they'll be wearing them all the time. And you can befriend them as well. This is not just I think this is a really bears emphasis. This is a different kind of award. This is not just a one-off, thanks for being great, or another kind of best of list. This is really just the beginning for these honorees. ABI wants to be the stage on which these stars can shine in the future and pay it forward. CLE programs, substantive member committee work, practical and scholarly publications, and all the other ways that ABI has to influence our community. We will keep them connected. We're going to promote their joint efforts. And as part of ABI's strategic plan, they will be serving as a key focus group for what nourishes and inspires tomorrow's leaders. Our vision for these honorees and those to come is that they will in time remake and sustain the ABI. They will be our leaders, and they will direct ABI to an ever brighter future as the most important voice in our community. Joining me on stage is ABI's Vice President for Membership, Judge Kevin Carey from Delaware. Not Karen Carey, Kevin Carey. As each award winner is announced, they'll come forward and receive the gift from Judge Carey. Now let's meet our 2018 honorees.
Shauna B. Armanani. Shauna is a forensic accountant who specializes in bankruptcy consulting, distressed business restructuring, complex business litigation support, and fraud investigations. A CPA and certified fraud examiner, she has worked with SEC and FTC receivers, bankruptcy trustees, and other fiduciaries. She's investigated multi-billion-dollar Ponzi schemes, helping to recover millions of dollars for creditors. A strong advocate for women in the industry, she led a community service project for national nonprofit Easter Seals. She mentors an underprivileged 11-year-old through Big Sisters, and her passion for animals led her to start a professional networking group for the Humane Society that raised more than $30,000. Laura E. Appleby. Laura is a partner in Chapman & Cutler's Bankruptcy and Restructuring Group, where she represents financial institutions, municipalities, bondholders, hedge funds, and other creditors in complex proceedings. Prior to law school, Laura was a legislative assistant to a U.S. senator in Washington. She's a prolific author and speaker, especially in the municipal distress area. Laura's community service includes numerous asylum cases. She led a team at her firm that organized a career development panel for the firm's female clients. A member of the firm's Pro Bono Committee, Laura received its Pro Bono Achievement Award.
Nicholas K. Campbell. Nick is co-founder and managing partner of a turnaround firm. He helps transform underperforming and distressed companies through operational and financial restructurings. His typical clients are middle market companies with revenues between $50 million and $2 billion. At the age of 21, his family's insurance brokerage was in financial distress, and he was tasked with saving his family's livelihood and legacy. He managed to right the ship and turn over the business to his brother. Beyond establishing his own firm in 2017, Nick has started and assisted with multiple startups. He partnered with Georgia Tech's Data Science School to develop a first-of-its-kind algorithm to predict distress in private companies.
Catherine R. Catanese. Katie is a bankruptcy and restructuring attorney and a member of Foley & Lardner's Bankruptcy and Healthcare Restructuring Team. She focuses her practice on post-confirmation trusts and trustees, as well as on the representation of investors and managers in hedge funds on and offshore. Her work on behalf of court-appointed receivers in Chinese reverse merger litigation assists U.S. investors who've been defrauded. Katie is particularly devoted to pro bono legal work and various innocence projects across the country. She wrote an amicus brief that led to the release of a woman imprisoned for almost a decade. She also represents New York Law School's legal services team in support of low-income individuals in adoption matters. Kara Hammond Coyle. Kara is a partner in Young Conaway's Bankruptcy and Restructuring Group, where she focuses on representing debtors in possession in Chapter 11 bankruptcy cases. Kara also represents many lenders, note holders, and other significant creditors in insolvency cases and workouts. Kara serves on the advisory board for ABI's Mid-Atlantic Bankruptcy Workshop. She is a frequent presenter on a variety of insolvency topics. Since 2003, Kara has served as a guardian ad litem to numerous children in foster care in Delaware, including successful appeals before the state Supreme Court. She was recently recognized with the H. James Conway Award for exemplary pro bono legal service to the Wilmington community and the Delaware Bar.
Jonathan T. Edwards. Jonathan is a partner with Alston & Bird's Financial Restructuring Group. He represents various clients in complex bankruptcy cases, workouts, debt restructuring, and commercial litigation. In addition, he advises on bankruptcy structuring issues in leveraged finance, securitization, and structured finance transactions. Jonathan is listed in the 2019 edition of the Best Lawyers in America. From 2015 to 18, he was named in Chambers USA for bankruptcy restructuring in Georgia. He's served as a judge in ABI's corporate restructuring competition. Outside of the office, he volunteers with the Atlanta Mission and has been involved in fundraising for Wellspring Living, an organization whose mission it is to end sex trafficking.
Rosa J. Evergreen. Rosa is a partner with Arnold & Porter K. Scholar in Washington, where she's experienced all aspects of bankruptcy and corporate restructuring, including complex Chapter 11 cases, bankruptcy litigation, out-of-court restructurings, and distressed acquisitions. Industries include financial services, real estate, environmental, hospitality, and healthcare. Named as one of 12 outstanding young restructuring lawyers by Turnarounds and Workouts for 2017, she also maintains an active pro bono practice. She earned the DC Bar's Pro Bono Lawyer of the Year Award for 2018. Rosa also served as a research fellow for the ABI Commission to study the reform of Chapter 11 and has been a guest on ABI's Eye on Bankruptcy show.
Bradley S. Friedman. Brad is a vice president in the firm's private equity group based in Los Angeles, where he focuses on special situations investing. Prior to joining Ares in 2017, he was an associate at Milbank Tweed in New York, where he represented debtors and creditors in Chapter 11 reorganization cases and workouts, including the Lehman Brothers case. He also worked on special situations and distressed investing for Kohlberg Kravis Roberts on Wall Street. During law school, Brad was a George Washington Scholar and received the Justice Thurgood Marshall Civil Liberties Award. Brad leads volunteers within his community to focus on safe environments for children, including one that uses the ocean as therapy for children with special mental and physical needs. Christopher Gartman. Chris is counsel in the Corporate Reorganization and Bankruptcy Group at Hughes Hubbard & Reed. He's been involved in major cases such as Lehman, Adelphia, and Lyondell. Chris has been named a rising star by super lawyers every year since 2012 and is a co-author of Examiners in Bankruptcy Cases, a guide for examiners, courts, and practitioners. Chris is a former Division I college and U.S. national team ice hockey goalie. He applies the lessons learned in sports to help coordinate work streams within a case and while supervising his team. He enjoys giving junior associates real responsibility, mentoring, and motivation.
Shante M. George. Shante is a director for Baker Tilly and has consulting experience in bankruptcy, financial and operational restructuring, transactional due diligence, and forensic investigations. She advises companies, unsecured creditors, lenders, trustees, and examiners in and out of court. She also serves on the firm's National Diversity and Inclusion Committee. Shante manages the day-to-day aspects of engagements, including leading large teams in conducting complex forensic analyses relating to the evaluation of potential causes of action and Ponzi schemes. Shante is a member of the board of directors of Head Start of Rockland, providing preschool and early childhood education services for low-income children.
Gordon E. Gouveia. Gordon is a partner in the Chicago office of Fox Rothschild with a diverse business bankruptcy practice focused on representing Chapter 11 debtors and Chapter 7 trustees. He has practiced extensively in Illinois state and federal courts and in bankruptcy courts nationwide. Gordon previously was a member with Chicago bankruptcy and litigation boutique Shaw, Fishman, Glantz, and Tobin prior to its merger with Fox Rothschild. After law school, he clerked for bankruptcy judge and ABI immediate past president Eugene R. Wiedoff in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Illinois. David M. Guess. David is a partner and the senior bankruptcy and corporate restructuring attorney at the firm. He was formerly a partner at Klee, Tuchin, Bogdanov, and Stern, where he represented debtors Wet Seal, Paxson, Sport Chalet, Eastern Mountain Sports, Bob's Stores, National RV, and Lake Las Vegas. In addition, he was on the defense teams in the multi-billion-dollar Tronox and Samson Investment fraudulent transfer adversary proceedings. David has been recognized in the Best Lawyers in America, Super Lawyers, and by Martindale Hubbell. He also is a pro bono volunteer mediator for the Bankruptcy Court Mediation Program in Los Angeles. Adam L. Hirsch. Adam is a partner with Kutak Rock in Denver, where he represents clients from coast to coast in all aspects of bankruptcy, business restructuring, and related litigation. Adam cut his teeth on Wall Street, representing clients in a wide variety of high-profile bankruptcy and finance-related matters before, during, and after the 2008 financial crisis and subsequent economic recession. Adam has spoken at CLE programs and bankruptcy conferences across the nation on a variety of issues, including asset sales, financing, and litigation of avoidance actions. He also trains junior attorneys in his firm on writing, oral advocacy, and bankruptcy law.
Megan L. Hurley. Megan is a founding director of Massachusetts Debt Relief, the nonprofit which exclusively represents low-income individuals in Chapter 7. As the managing director, she oversees the organization's complete caseload. Through the end of 2017, her agency has helped to discharge an estimated $6 million in consumer debt. All clients are at or below 150 to 200% of the poverty line. While at Suffolk University Law School, she ran a foreclosure task force for 2 years called No One Leaves, in which she recruited and managed students who canvassed houses at risk of foreclosure to provide resources to owners and tenants.
Chad J. Husnick. Chad is a partner in the restructuring practice group at Kirkland & Ellis, where he represents debtors, creditors, equity holders, and other stakeholders. His notable clients include Toys R Us, American Tire Distributors, Cobalt Energy, C&J Energy, General Growth Properties, Strategic Hotels and Resorts, and United Airlines. Selected as one of 5 bankruptcy rising stars for 2018, he was also recognized in the 2017-18 editions of Chambers USA. The American Lawyer named him Deal Maker of the Year 2016 for his role in the Energy Future Holdings restructuring, and he was named Outstanding Young Restructuring Lawyer 2017 by Turnarounds and Workouts. Chad lectures at the University of Chicago Law School and contributes to Collier on bankruptcy.
Hannah White Hutman. At the age of 29, Hannah started her own law firm devoted to bankruptcy and insolvency matters, a practice area that was underserved in her Virginia community. She has since become a partner with Huber Penrod, which allows her to expand her areas of practice to debtors under Chapters 7, 12, 13, and 11. She frequently represents creditors and trustees in bankruptcy proceedings. A Chapter 7 trustee for the Western District of Virginia, she is active in the leadership of iWork and her state bar. Outside the office, she serves on the board of a local free medical clinic to provide affordable health care to low-income members of her community.
Vincent Indelicato. Vinny is a partner in ProScour's Business Solutions, Governance, Restructuring, and Bankruptcy Department, where his practice focuses on the representation of debtors, creditors, statutory and ad hoc committees, and equity holders in Chapter 11 cases and out-of-court restructurings, as well as investors in complex distress situations. He has played a lead role on cases such as the Los Angeles Dodgers, Brookfield Asset Management, and MF Global. He is currently helping advise the Financial Oversight and Management Board for Puerto Rico, as well as Toys R Us. Vinny is a member on the Council on Foreign Relations. Prior to law school, he served as the special assistant to U.S. Senator Charles E. Schumer.
Dalia Jimenez. Dalia teaches bankruptcy, contracts, and consumer protection at the University of California at Irvine. She is one of 3 principal investigators in the Financial Distress Research Project, a large-scale study evaluating the effectiveness of legal and counseling interventions to help people in financial distress. She is also a member of ABI's Commission on Consumer Bankruptcy. Dalia was part of the founding staff of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, working on debt collection, debt relief, credit reporting, and student loan issues. After law school, she clerked for a judge on the First Circuit Court, was an associate at Ropes & Gray in Boston, and worked on consumer protection issues for a Massachusetts state senator. As a Cuban immigrant, Dalia has been a volunteer board member of the nonprofit Friends of Caritas Cubana, which supports the humanitarian work of the Catholic charities in Cuba.
John Jason Keys. Jason is a financial advisor for Alex Partners, where he represents debtors, senior lenders, official committees, and investors in all aspects of restructuring. His diverse set of industries includes energy, shipping, retail, metals and mining, media and automotive sectors. He also has managed cross-border projects in Colombia, Canada, and France. Jason was recently appointed CFO of a Greek and UK-based shipping company with over $1 billion in debt and 58 ships as the company was languishing in bankruptcy. He led the company's financial and operating functions and oversaw successful reorganization of over 500 employees and asset sales of $500 million. Brian J. Koenig. Brian is a shareholder and the vice chair of the litigation department at Coley Jessen in Omaha, where he consults clients in commercial bankruptcy and litigation. He serves on the associate and finance committees at the 70-attorney firm. He is the trusted bankruptcy counsel in proceedings throughout the country for multiple publicly traded companies, private equity firms, and privately held businesses. While at law school, he served as editor-in-chief of the Creighton Law Review. Brian serves on a number of nonprofit boards in Omaha, including a counseling center he helped to found called City Care Counseling. City Care now has 20 counselors assisting low-income residents.
Alexa J. Cransley. Alexa is a special counsel in Sullivan and Cromwell's Financing and Restructuring Group. She's an active member of the firm's Women's Initiative Committee and Asian Associates Network. She represents companies and creditors in Chapter 11 proceedings and out-of-court corporate and financial restructurings, as well as private equity and hedge funds in connection with distressed and special situation investments. Alexa has lived in Hong Kong, Singapore, and Shanghai, and through these experiences, she learned to speak different languages and adapt to different cultures. She formally participates in mentoring programs for summer associates, new first-year associates, and other junior associates at her firm. Stephanie Crane Lieb. Stephanie is a shareholder at Trenum Law in Tampa, where she represents businesses and financial institutions. She is board certified in business bankruptcy law and has represented a diverse array of clients, including purchasers, fiduciaries, landlords, and lenders, both within bankruptcy court proceedings as well as pre-bankruptcy workouts and restructurings. Stephanie previously clerked for Middle District Judges McEwen and Williamson. Fluent in Spanish, Stephanie is actively involved in fundraising for the benefit of increased access to justice in her community. She is also a member of the Philanthropic Women of St. Joseph's Hospital and regularly supports the group, particularly its children's hospital.
Nishant R. Machado. Nishant is a senior managing director and co-leads the firm's financial restructuring and traction advisory practice. He has extensive business, finance, and restructuring experience, including recently as CRO, CEO in the successful restructuring of Romano's Macaroni Grill and the CEO, CRO at Logan's Roadhouse, where he guided the company through its restructuring and turnaround. An entrepreneur, Nishant founded Great Destinations Incorporated, a sales and marketing company he served as CFO and sold to Interval Leisure Group Incorporated, a publicly traded company with an enterprise value in excess of $3 billion. Nishant is an emeritus board member for his community Boys and Girls Club, and he leads the mentoring program of young analysts and associates at his firm.
Jennifer L. Marines. Jennifer is a partner in Morrison & Forster's Business Restructuring and Insolvency Group and deputy chair of the firm's finance department. Her practice includes advising senior management and boards of directors of financially troubled companies. Jennifer is a member of the City Bar's Bankruptcy and Corporate Reorganization Committee and chairs its Women in Law subcommittee. She is a member of the steering committee of the Zaretsky Roundtable program at her alma mater. Following law school, Jennifer clerked for the Honorable Robert D. Drain of the Southern District of New York. Her current volunteer activities include extensive pro bono work, most recently related to immigration matters.
Tim McDonough. Tim is a senior managing director at FTI, where he focuses on turnarounds and restructurings in corporate finance practice. He specializes in serving as a trusted advisor to C-suites and boards of directors. Tim recently served as overall engagement lead to Southeastern Grocers, a precedent-setting prepackaged bankruptcy. His other clients include Aeropostale, Radio Shack, the Great Atlantic and Pacific Tea Company, CIT Group, Eastman Kodak Company, The Children's Place, Delphi Corporation, and Circuit City. Tim served in the U.S. Peace Corps, volunteering with a community in St. Lucia. During this stint, he advised a group of women who were establishing an agro-processing business, mentored a group of boys, taught English, math, and basic computer skills to teenagers, and developed material for and taught a class on small business skills for unemployed women.
Carrie Ann S. Mills. Carrie Ann is a partner in Sidley Austin's restructuring group and has extensive experience representing companies, secured lenders, and other parties in interest in a wide variety of corporate reorganization matters. Carrie Ann dedicates considerable efforts to promoting diversity and inclusion in the legal profession. She is a member of Sidley's Committee on Retention and Promotion of Women and Diversity. In addition, she serves on the board of directors of the Chicago Committee on Minorities in Large Law Firms, a nonprofit organization that seeks racial and ethnic diversity in the legal profession through professional development, programming, mentoring, networking, and leadership opportunities. Lindsay Milne. Lindsay is a shareholder in her firm's business restructuring and insolvency practice group, where she represents a broad array of corporate clients in matters including Chapter 11, asset sales and acquisitions, bankruptcy-related litigation, and appellate practice. She formerly practiced at Aiken Gump in New York, where her matters included complex Chapter 11 cases such as GM, Friendly's, Kodak, and Energy Future Holdings. Lindsay is a leader in many professional organizations and serves on the advisory board for ABI's Northeast Bankruptcy Conference. She has also served on the Young Alumni Advisory Board of Dartmouth College and is recognized for her commitment to help future generations of disadvantaged students attend her alma mater.
Daniel T. Moss. Dan is a partner in the Washington, D.C. office of Jones Day. Most recently, he was one of the leaders on the Peabody Energy Chapter 11 cases, the world's largest coal company. He is part of the team representing the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority in connection with its revitalization efforts. Dan also played a significant role in the City of Detroit Chapter 9 case, from litigating the city's eligibility for Chapter 9 to confirmation of its plan for the adjustment of debts. Dan's pro bono activities include representation of disabled veterans. J. Leland Murphy. Leland is a shareholder and a co-chair of his firm's bankruptcy and restructuring group. He also focuses on out-of-court workouts, restructuring, and distressed M&A and investing. Leland recently served on the Alabama Law Institute's Committee on Uniform Laws, resulting in the passage of the Uniform Voidable Transactions Act. Leland is past chairman of the Alabama State Bar Bankruptcy and Commercial Law Section. In his leadership roles, he advanced the Pro Bono Task Force. He also secured free software licenses for all volunteer lawyer programs, allowing them to better represent low-income debtors in bankruptcy. Kyle J. Ortiz. Kyle is a partner and represents companies, boards of directors, and creditors in distressed situations with a particular focus on cross-border insolvencies. He has represented debtors in some of the largest and most complex Chapter 11 cases, including Pacific Drilling, Westinghouse, SunEdison, Aeropostale, American Airlines, and Lehman Brothers. Both the Legal Aid Society and the New York State Bar Association have recognized his extensive pro bono work, which focuses on housing and immigration. In addition to his legal work, Kyle founded Operation ASHA in Cambodia, an arm of a worldwide tuberculosis treatment organization. The operation in Cambodia has grown to more than 180 tuberculosis treatment centers in and around Cambodia's capital, Phnom Penh.
Rebecca Finch Redwine. Rebecca is a partner and focuses on debtor representation in Chapter 11 bankruptcies, and she has served as Unsecured Creditors Committee Counsel and as an examiner. Rebecca is a frequent speaker at bankruptcy programs, including ABI's Southeast Bankruptcy Workshop. She has been recognized in North Carolina Super Lawyers as a legal elite and in the Best Lawyers in America over the past 10 years. This year, she was named Lawyer of the Year Litigation Bankruptcy. For the State Bar, Rebecca has been a tireless advocate for pro bono services and developed numerous recognition awards to inspire more to participate. Sherry L. Scheibel. Sherry is the General Counsel at Ancura Consulting and is responsible for all legal, compliance, corporate governance, and regulatory affairs. She has more than 15 years of experience advising and representing institutional investor and hedge fund clients. Sherry was previously Associate General Counsel and Managing Director at AIG Investments, where she managed a team of attorneys responsible for supporting a full range of investments, managing more than $5 billion in restructurings, high-yield transactions, and residential mortgage lending. Sherry is active with Women in Need, the largest New York City-based nonprofit that provides shelter and supportive housing for the city's homeless families, raising more than $200,000 for the shelter.
Justin P. Schmaltz. Justin is a managing director with Alvarez and Marsal's North American turnaround and restructuring practice. For more than 15 years, he has worked exclusively in distressed situations and transactions. His notable clients have included iHeartMedia, Blockbuster, Cengage Learning, The Tribune Company, Sandridge Energy, Answers Corps as CRO, Delphi Corporation's Debtor in Possession Lender Group, and Graceway Pharmaceuticals. Born and raised in North Dakota, Justin is the first in his family to earn a college degree, and he has worked part-time jobs in manufacturing and services since the age of 14. Outside of the office, he volunteers with Meals for the Homeless and various service projects in his community. Joshua P. Searcy. Joshua represents debtors and creditors in Chapter 7, 11, 12, 13, as well as Chapter 7 and 11 trustees. He also represents financial institutions and non-bankruptcy civil litigation, including one matter recently litigated at the Fifth Circuit. Recently chosen as a Fellow of the Texas Bar Foundation, he currently serves on the Executive Council of the Bankruptcy Section of the State Bar. He is a past recipient of the section's Basio Achievement Award. Joshua is a board member of a nonprofit preschool for low-income children and a board member of the East Texas Regional Development Corps, lending to small businesses in Northeast Texas.
Christina M. Stanger. Christina is a shareholder at her firm in Iowa, focused on creditors' rights and bankruptcy. Her experience includes retail, grocery, agriculture, healthcare, construction, transportation, and manufacturing. Christina is also a combat-experienced lieutenant colonel in the Iowa Army National Guard and a 2017 Iron Major. She has served more than 20 years as a soldier, commander, and planner for state, national, and international operations. She now serves as one of the state's highest-ranking females and is the Chief of Plans and Operations. Christina's upbringing off the gravel roads of Iowa, along with her military experience, helped develop her work ethic, which led to her success as a commercial litigator at Iowa's largest law firm.
Andrew M. Tao. Andrew is a managing director of Cantor Fitzgerald's High Yield Distressed Trading Desk. In this role, he publishes research on a variety of distressed investment opportunities and other special situations, as well as regulatory and thematic issues in distressed investing. Previously, Andrew was a senior researcher at a $1 billion plus hedge fund. He also was a corporate restructuring associate at Skadden Arps, where he represented parties in all aspects of Chapter 11 bankruptcy cases. He enjoys mentoring analysts who suddenly find themselves owning bonds of a bankrupt company, but who have limited restructuring experience.
Jane Van Laer. Jane is a partner at Cleary Gottlieb and focuses her practice on restructuring, insolvency, and bankruptcy litigation. She has advised on significant transactions, including as counsel to ModSpace, the largest U.S. provider of temporary and modular office space, in the restructuring of nearly $1 billion in secured debt through a pre-packaged Chapter 11 plan. A graduate of Harvard College and Harvard Law School, Jane's work has earned several Deal of the Year awards on complex cross-border matters. Jane regularly publishes and presents on bankruptcy and restructuring, such as ABI's cross-border program, and has been recognized on benchmark litigation's Under 40 Hot List. Carolina Velaz Rivero. Carolina concentrates her practice in all aspects of distressed situations in bankruptcy, representing institutional lenders, strategic investors, special situation funds, and other stakeholders in and out of court. Carolina has been lead counsel to numerous financial institutions in Puerto Rico, such as Banco Popular de Puerto Rico, Oriental Bank, and First Bank Puerto Rico, in some of Puerto Rico's most complex bankruptcy and restructuring proceedings. Carolina co-chairs her firm's representation of the government of Puerto Rico in the various pending cases under PROMISA, working with various agencies and public corporations.
Eli J. Vonnegut. Eli is a partner in Davis Polk's restructuring group and represents creditors, debtors, agent banks, hedge funds, lenders, bondholders, and other strategic parties in a range of corporate restructurings. He also advises numerous financial institutions, including all 8 of the U.S.'s global systematically important banking groups and trade groups in connection with Dodd-Frank resolution planning. Eli is a valued member of ABI's Secured Credit Committee. His pro bono work includes efforts to obtain restitution for homeowners defrauded by mortgage modification scams. And he has worked with a nonprofit supporting 9/11 first responders to help protect their health benefits from seizure by creditors.
So please join me one last time in saluting our 2018 40 Under 40 honorees. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Paul Zumbro, and on behalf of the team at Cravath, welcome. I'm thrilled to introduce to you today's keynote speaker, Molly Bloom. Born into a family of high achievers, Molly was once a world-class skier. While training as a preteen, she was diagnosed with a severe back condition that doctors said would end any athletic career. A year later, she was back on the slopes, more determined than ever. She made the U.S. ski team and at age 21 was ranked number 3 in North America in moguls. But her Olympic dreams would go unrealized after a serious accident in competition. After she earned a degree in political science from the University of Colorado and was headed to a top-tier law school, she decided, like many ambitious young people, to take a year off. She moved to LA, where a job as a low-level assistant turned her into an accidental entrepreneur, running one of the most exclusive, high-stakes underground poker games in the world, pulling in as much as $4 million a year. If you've seen the movie Molly's Game, starring Jessica Chastain as Molly, you know about this journey from college student to LA waitress to building and operating the largest and most notorious private poker game with hundreds of millions of dollars and players like Leonardo DiCaprio, Tobey Maguire, A-Rod, and Ben Affleck. She had a bit of trouble with the FBI and the justice system, and a most unfortunate experience with the US bankruptcy system. Something about a fraudulent conveyance and a Ponzi scheme where she was one of the victims. Molly, the bankruptcy trustee who clawed back all of your assets, I'm pleased to tell you is not here today. Molly is now focused on building WeWork for female entrepreneurs. For years, she built the Billionaire Boys Club. Now she's creating a community for women to nurture their ambitions by providing them with opportunities to collaborate and grow their business. Please join me in giving Molly a very warm welcome today as our keynote speaker.
Okay. Hi. I'm very excited to be here, and I also want to make some friends in this room because I may not have filed for bankruptcy, but we could use some turnaround, restructuring. So I'll be signing books later, aka just soliciting free advice if anyone wants some extra pro bono on their dance card. Just kidding, sort of, not really. But I am really excited to be here to tell you my story and to talk about overcoming fear and adversity, managing risk, and living a significant life. And if that's not your cup of tea this afternoon, well, the story also has the mob, both the Russian and the Italian, the FBI, Hollywood, Ponzi schemes, and Wall Street, so here goes nothing. I was born in a small town in Colorado called Loveland, Colorado. And I was the firstborn daughter to two parents who took their job of raising humans really seriously. And so everything seemed to be going really well, and then my brothers were born, and they ruined everything. They didn't just ruin everything because they were born, they were progenies, legitimate. Jordan, my middle brother, was a bona fide genius. He went on to become a Harvard-educated cardiothoracic surgeon. Jeremy, my youngest brother, was the athletic prodigy. He is a 6-time world champion, 2-time Olympic skier. And then when he was done with his ski career, he casually went from the Turin Olympics to the NFL Combine, where he got drafted 5th round of the Philadelphia Eagles. So, starting with my dinner table, I was never the most talented or smartest person in the room. And that kept me up at night. I wanted to matter. I wanted my parents to get engaged with my successes. I wanted the glory that I saw my brothers having. And so I kind of figured out that if I put in twice as much, 3 times as much work, and I just had this tenacious attitude of I'm never gonna quit, I could kind of make up some of that distance. And so I became a very good student. And I wanted to go to the Olympics and be an Olympic skier like my brother. And I didn't have his natural talent, but I had this, very determined mindset. And then at 12 years old, as was mentioned, I got diagnosed with scoliosis. And the doctors told me a couple things. They said, you have to have the surgery because you'll slowly suffocate if you don't. The curve in your back is already starting to compress lung function. You'll be on your back for a year, homeschooled, and then you're done with your ski career. You'll have to find something else. But I was 12 years old, and I don't know if any of you remember being 12, but I was firmly in the mindset of I don't want to listen to adults. And so that, worked well for me. I didn't listen. I didn't heed that advice. And I was back on the hill in a year. And I showed up early to training, and I left late. And I got to, I learned how to sacrifice and live in sort of, like my dad calls it, constructive suffering. And at 19 years old, I made the US ski team. At 20, I was 3rd overall in North America. And at 21, I made it all the way to the Olympic qualifiers. And I stood at the top of this mountain, and I said to myself, your whole life has come down to this moment. This is everything. And I'll let Aaron Sorkin show you what happened next.
Good snow contact, calm upper body, legs together, good shape, no line deviation. Set up for the D-spin and stick the landing. Now, 2 things you need to know before the second trick, which will be a 720. The first is that when visibility is bad the way it is now, race officials toss pine boughs on the course so the skiers have some foreground depth reference. The second is that the tightness of your bindings is determined by what's called a DIN setting. If you're a beginner, your DIN setting is probably 2 or 3. If you're an experienced weekend skier, it's probably 7 or 8. Mine's 15. My boots are basically welded to my skis, right? So how does this happen? It happened because I hit a pine bough that had become frozen in the snow. And I hit it so precisely that it simply snapped the release of my bindings. Right in that moment, I didn't have time to calculate the odds of that happening because I was about to land pretty hard on my digitally remastered spinal cord, which was being held together by spare parts from an erector set. None of this has anything to do with poker.
Ouch. So, so my ski career ended that day, and it wasn't because I didn't show up, I didn't prepare. It was because I tripped on a stick. And my heart was pretty broken, and I wanted to take a year off just to regather my thoughts, myself, and I decided I wanted to do that in a warm climate because I was really sick of being cold and chasing winter. So I went to LA, and I got a job at the first place that would hire me, and it was at a restaurant. And it was a fine dining restaurant, and I kind of fudged on the application and said I had fine dining experience. But I was from Loveland, Colorado, and the nicest restaurant I had probably been to is like Red Lobster. So 2 weeks later, I got fired. My boss called me into his office and said, "You're the worst waitress we've ever seen." We've seen bad waitresses. But we see that you show up early and you leave late and you work hard. So I want to offer you a job as my personal assistant. I took the job, even though I didn't particularly like his management style. He was pretty crazy, and he definitely didn't have an HR department. But I didn't want to go home. I didn't want to accept defeat. You know, I was competitive. So he came into the office one day and he said something that sounded pretty innocuous at the time, but that would change my life forever. He said, "I need you to serve drinks at my poker game." So I went home, and are there any poker players in here? I'm not going to tell you guys. Okay, well, I knew nothing about poker. So I went home and I Googled things like, what kind of music do poker players like to listen to, and what do they eat? And I made a playlist that had songs like The Gambler on it. And I bought a supermarket cheese plate. And I waited for the players to show up, and I thought these were going to be, you know, overgrown frat boys. And so imagine my shock and surprise when Ben Affleck and Leonardo DiCaprio and the head of the biggest studio in Hollywood and a very famous politician, and the list goes on, and they just started coming in this room, and you know, I was A, mortified because of my playlist, and and B, I had a light bulb moment, and I realized that this is not the kind of opportunity that a 22-year-old girl from a small town in Colorado gets. This is an opportunity to build a network, to get in front of people who have massive access to information, to power, to capital. And so I wanted to stay. And so I went home that night, and I started watching YouTube videos on how to play game, how to play poker, how to play the game. I learned the rules and the objectives of poker. And then what I did is I studied the client. My dad's a psychologist, and it was super annoying growing up because we would process and analyze and talk about psychological, drives. But it turned out to be this really useful way of looking at the world. So I wanted to know why these guys, with all their access to anyone and anything in the world, why they wanted to come religiously and ritualistically every Tuesday night and play this game. And what I landed on was this wasn't about things anymore for them. They could buy whatever things they wanted. They wanted experiences, they wanted escapism, and they wanted to walk in this room and feel like James Bond for a night. And so I started to build on that, and I started to sort of try to create more of the fantasy. And I made alliances, and I really wanted to build this network. And my boss got threatened, and he called me in his office one day and said, I think you just need to come back to working for me full-time in the office. But I'd been doing this for 6 months. I had made a lot of money, and I also really clearly saw that poker could be my Trojan horse, this sort of functioning thing that I could use to access any subset of society. And I also saw how to turn it into a business. I saw how to make it profitable for myself. And so I wasn't willing to accept coming back to the office. But that meant that I had to go rogue, and I had to stand up to this relatively psychotic member of the Billionaire Boys Club. And I was 23. And there was really no reason why I should win this game, but I wanted to try anyway. So I planned a game based on all of the sort of criteria that I thought would matter. I tried to think about this poker game in a really expansive way. The shape and the texture and the weight of the chips mattered. The way that the room smelled mattered. Whether you remembered people's drink orders mattered. The economics mattered. And so what I did is I planned a poker game at the penthouse of the Four Seasons in Beverly Hills. I bought brand new chips. I brought a shuffle master. I hired people and versed them in everyone's drink and food order. I raised the stakes from $10,000 to $50,000, and I invited everyone except for my boss. And I hosted the game, and they loved it. And I announced at the end that I'll be running this game every Tuesday, and I'd love it if you guys came back. And they did, every week for 6 years. And I ran this game, and I made millions of dollars, and I retained attorneys and made sure I was doing it correctly, legally. I don't know about correctly. And what the attorneys told me was that as long as I wasn't taking a rake, meaning taking a percentage of the pot, as long as I was operating on tips alone, I was okay. And I was making, by that time, $3 million a year on tips alone. And things were happening at these games. Movies were getting made. Hedge funds were being created. It was this very vibrant community, and it was also the best game in town. But one of the players was not playing fairly. He's this very famous actor that everyone has seen in a lot of movies, and he was obsessed with this game. And not just obsessed with the game, he was obsessed with winning, and he didn't want a fair fight. So he started cheating. He started colluding with another player. And I found out about it. And I knew that I had to put my foot down. But I knew that this would cost me a lot. But I didn't really feel like I had a choice. I couldn't condone two people cheating in the game. So I told him he had to stop. And he leveraged his social currency, his celebrity status, and he took the game from me. And in a matter of seconds, it felt like I had lost everything. Like I'd tripped on that stick again. And I could have gone away. I should have gone away. I should have gone to law school. I had an incredible network. I had a lot of money saved, but I was mad. I was pissed. And so I decided that not only was I not going to go away, I was going to go bigger. And I was going to build an empire. And I was going to do this in New York. And I was going to do it by recruiting Wall Street people. But it was 2008. So there's a little problem there. But I just focused on the win. I focused on making it happen. And by the end of 2008, I had built the biggest poker game in the world. It was a $250,000 buy-in. And it was populated by Wall Street, international billionaires, sports stars. And this time I decided that I was not going to be replaceable. And I decided the way that I would do that was to become the bank. So I would vet the players, I would extend credit, and I would make good on bad debts. And this sounds like a really crazy proposition. But my thesis was, as long as I had the best game in town, as long as my product was the best product, and no one could get close to it, that people would want to come back, which meant they would have to pay their debts. And that worked for a while, until it didn't. So something changed in me in New York, and I kind of got that Moore disease. What had previously been about guts and heart and entrepreneurship became about money and power and greed, and it was never enough. It could just never be enough. Every moment I wasn't running my big game, I was recruiting players for different games, smaller games, different types of poker, different types of gambling, until I had a game running every day and every night of the year. I had millions of dollars out on the street every week. Collecting was getting really difficult. The whole thing was getting very unsustainable. I lost contact with my family because they didn't approve of what I was doing, and I didn't want to hear it. And I stopped having meaningful relationships. I started doing drugs. I started drinking to stay up, to come down, to deal with this giant emptiness that was kind of increasing. And I started making some reckless choices. I started allowing people to play in the game that were bad debt. And I looked around the room one night, hadn't slept for a while, really was not in a great frame of mind, and I saw a lot of bad debt. And with one slight little hand gesture to my dealer, I signaled to her to take a break. And that put me in direct violation of 1955, the federal statute called running an illegal gambling operation. But don't worry, I have like a good year and a half of bad decision making before this whole thing comes off the tracks. I was on a roll. So I had recruited these guys from Brighton Beach, these Russians from Brighton Beach, and their story checked out. You know, I had private investigators. I vetted these people within an inch of their life. I had bank employees. I really felt like I got a good full picture of who people were, and their stories checked out. But they were playing huge. The games got so big. I saw someone lose $100 million in a night. And then I had a little run-in with the Italian mob, as we do. I had a driver who would drive me around when I was picking up and dropping off large sums of cash. I trusted this guy. He worked for me for 4 years, and we had a pretty good relationship. One day he said to me, I know some New Jersey hedge fund guys that would love to play. And I said, great, have them meet me at the Four Seasons at the bar, and we can talk poker. And they came in, and it was very clear to me that these were not hedge fund guys. They looked like they had just rolled off the set of Goodfellas. And they came in, and there was this very awkward moment, you know. And I said, can I get you guys something to drink? And they thought about it for a while, and then one of the guys said, yeah, I'll have an apple martini. And I'm like, really? It's not how they do it in the movies. And they got to business really quickly. They told me that this was their turf, that I had built something that was impressive, but I would need to partner with them. And I politely told them that that wasn't possible. And I paid for their apple martinis, and I left. And unfortunately, that's not where it ended. And they showed up at my house. They sent someone who showed up at my house, and this is what happened.
My packages. Sorry, you're in the wrong. Wait, okay, hold on a second.
Not a sound. You get me?
I have money. It's all cash.
Where?
It's safe.
Where's it?
It's in the closet.
Show me. Put the money and jewelry in a bag. Gold bars, too.
Come on.
Open your mouth. Open your mouth. It wasn't an offer they made. It wasn't a suggestion. This will be your only reminder. Your mother lives alone in Telluride, Colorado. Right? Right? Right, Molly?
She doesn't live there anymore.
I see that.
So bad decision making. Not only now am I in this terribly dangerous situation, I have now put my family and people I love. And I wasn't willing to walk away. And I stayed in my house, and I let my face heal, and I kept thinking, why am I not hearing from them? Where did they go? And at the end of the third week, this was 2010, the New York Times came to my door, and on the cover it said, 125 people arrested in the biggest mob-related takedown in New York City history. So I barely skated away from that one. But, look, here's the picture. I got the Italian mob, the Russian mob, Wall Street players playing in an illegal poker game, celebrities, a Ponzi scheme going on in California, and it's all connected through this poker game. And so it's very clear that the next people to walk in, it wasn't clear to me at the time, it's clear now, were the feds. And the feds showed up at one of my poker games. I hadn't arrived yet. And one of my employees said, "Don't come here, the FBI is looking for you." And I got in a car and drove to JFK. I tried to book a plane ticket. All my accounts were frozen. I logged into my Bank of America account. It said negative $9,999,099. And this is a room of people that understand that. And so I had to move back home with my mom, and it was all over. The penthouse apartments, beach houses, the cars, the parties, the money, the friends, everyone and everything was gone. And I had to get real with myself. I had to own that all these choices were mine, and that I had broken the law, and knowing what I knew, I had the information. And as soon as I stopped feeling sorry for myself, I decided that I was going to get back up, dust myself off, and try to make this okay. Took me about 2 years to kind of put everything back together, to get a job, to get hired. And I moved back to LA. And 10 days later, I got a call in the middle of the night. Said, the person on the other end of the phone said, "This is Mike so-and-so from the FBI. You need to come out of your apartment right now, or we're going to break down the door." So I went out, and my eyes adjusted to the light, and there were 17 FBI agents with semi-automatic weapons, and they had a piece of paper that said the United States of America versus Molly Bloom. And so I was kind of back at square one. And it turns out that the feds, what they really wanted is they wanted my cooperation. And they offered to give my money back, and they offered me immunity. But I knew that wasn't a deal. That was a deal I couldn't take, because I had these choices had all been me. I had made these decisions. I had decided to take a rake. I had, put people I love in danger, and it just really felt like the right thing to do to stand for my own choices. And so I waited to get sentenced, and I had a really nice judge who was very disappointed with my life choices. Made that really clear, understandably so, and but did not sentence me to prison. And I'm sitting there with my family, and we're all celebrating or whatever. But I'm thinking to myself, "Oh my God, I'm 33 years old. I'm millions of dollars in debt. I'm a convicted felon. My reputation is destroyed. My network is destroyed. What do? I need a massive rebranding campaign." And so, because I'm, such a practical person, I decided that should be a book and a movie. And my parents were like, "Oh my God, when are you going to grow up?" But I really felt like there was a unique story. And so I decided that I would write and publish a book. And then when that book was done, I decided that Aaron Sorkin should write the movie. And so I went around to anyone that would talk to me, and that was few and far between these days, let me just tell you. And I asked to get a meeting with Aaron Sorkin. And I just badgered someone enough that he called in a personal favor. And I flew in to LA to meet with Aaron, and I was told I had 60 minutes. So I showed up, game face, pitched for 60 minutes. He kind of sat back in his chair and gave me this amused expression, and he's like, wow, I've never met someone so down on their luck and so full of themselves. He's good. He's good with those lines, that Sorkin. And so 4 years ago, I was pleading guilty in federal court, and this past year, I got to go to the Oscars. What a country. But I didn't get there alone. The kindness and the support and the redirection that was afforded to me during rock bottom really saved my life. I had a family that didn't give up on me. I had a couple friends that were ride or die. I had a criminal attorney who decided that even though I didn't have any money and probably didn't have a shot to win this, that I deserved a second chance. And I'll never forget this. I went into his office for our first meeting all fired up. Let's talk about strategy, let's talk about angle. And he said, Molly, we're gonna talk about integrity. And that was a game changer for me. That was a profound redirection. I got sober, and I got a AA sponsor who is just a spiritual giant in my life. She's this little Puerto Rican from the Bronx, and she's very terrifying. And half the time she talks to you, you feel like you're talking to Tony Montana, and the other half is like Mother Teresa. It's very confusing. But she said to me early on, getting sober isn't just about putting down the drug and the drink. It's about reclaiming your dignity and honor. And the idea that those were things that I could reclaim was revolutionary. She also, I would call her and feel sorry for myself and talk to her about, poor me, and she would say, I need you to get off the phone with me right now and go help someone. And I didn't see how that was gonna work, but I'd listen to her because I was terrified of her. And it did work. And that has certainly changed the direction of my life and changed what I feel is the definition of success. And there have just been people along the way. And I say this because I'm in a room full of people who deal with humans at rock bottom a lot. And it's such an incredible service you do to help people turn their life around and to be that beacon of hope. It's certainly changed and probably saved my life. So I think that's really cool. And I just want to say thank you very much. Wow. Thank you. You guys are going to make me cry.